In the remote depths of a vast forest, a woman known only as Mama and her two young sons, Nolan and Samuel, live isolated from the world. According to Mama, a supernatural force called the Evil has swept across the earth, bringing about the world's end, leaving only the three of them as survivors. Mama is haunted by terrifying visions of these supernatural entities, invisible to her sons, but believed to be real. Every day, the family struggles to survive, foraging and hunting for food. But the most important rule is that they must stay connected to their home. A rope tied around their waists is their only safeguard, ensuring the evil cannot touch them. Each morning, they also chant a prayer of gratitude to the house, believing it protects them from this lurking darkness. One fateful day, while out foraging, a simple disagreement between the brothers takes a dangerous turn. In a moment of anger, Nolan deliberately steps on Samuel's rope, causing his brother to fall and break his ankle. Nolan, realizing the gravity of what he's done, unties himself in a desperate attempt to save Samuel. Mama arrives just in time to rescue them both, though she has a chilling encounter with the evil, taking the form of her own mother, though unseen by the boys. As winter grips the land, the family's food stores dwindle, and with no way to hunt or grow more, they begin to starve. Meanwhile, Mama's terrifying visions grow even more intense. She sees apparitions of her husband, her parents, and even a mutilated version of Nolan. Tension builds as her sons, especially Nolan, begin to doubt her increasingly desperate warnings about the evil. In a rare moment of vulnerability, she shares stories of her life before the world ended and shows them an old Polaroid camera holding one last photo. With no food left, Mama makes a grim decision. They must kill and eat the family dog to survive. Horrified, Nolan rebels. When she takes the dog into the greenhouse, he severs her rope and locks her inside, hoping to prove that the evil isn't real. But his plan backfires. Inside the greenhouse, Mama once again encounters the evil in the form of her mother, and driven to despair, she ends her own life in front of Nolan's eyes. Now, grief-stricken and blaming Nolan for her mother's death, Samuel becomes unhinged. As the brothers starve, Samuel's behavior turns erratic, and the threat of danger looms over them both, darker than ever before. With the extra length of free rope from his mother, Nolan ventures deeper into the forest. After hours of navigating through dense woods, he stumbles upon an empty road, an eerie reminder of the world that once was. Filled with a new sense of hope, Nolan returns to the house, only to be met by a lone hiker who had heard his distant cries for help. The hiker listens intently as Nolan recounts his bizarre and troubling story, his face growing more alarmed with each passing detail. The hiker begins to realize that something is very wrong, not just with the forest, but with Nolan's living conditions. However, before they can take any action, Samuel appears, wielding a crossbow, his eyes wild with suspicion. Despite Nolan and the hiker's efforts to calm him down, the tension escalates. In a sudden, terrifying moment, Samuel pulls the trigger, sending an arrow straight into the hiker's chest. Panicked, Nolan rushes to the hiker's side as the man gasps for breath, managing to dial 911 before succumbing to his wound. Desperate for any chance of survival, Nolan retrieves the hiker's backpack, discovering a precious stash of food, something they've needed for so long. That night, as darkness settles over the house, a young girl arrives at the property, claiming to be the hiker's daughter. She confronts Samuel, her eyes locking onto the flashlight in his hand, her father's flashlight. Fear begins to creep in as she realizes the truth, and in a flash, she flees into the forest with Samuel close behind. But as Samuel pursues her, the girl's form begins to shift. To his horror, she reveals herself to be the evil, and before he can react, she touches him. When Samuel returns to the house, he is no longer the brother Nolan once knew. Possessed and consumed by madness, Samuel turns on Nolan, his behavior increasingly erratic. The once safe home transforms into a battleground as Samuel attempts to kill his brother. In the chaos, Samuel sets the house ablaze, the flames devouring the structure that had once sheltered them. Amid the firestorm, Nolan is confronted by a familiar yet horrifying sight, his mother, or rather, the evil wearing her form. As the walls of the house crumble around him, Nolan drags Mama into a small crawl space, a desperate attempt to find shelter from the raging inferno. In the dim light, the evil reveals its true form, shedding Mama's skin like a discarded husk. The creature emerges, a snake-like being, writhing and terrifying. Yet, in an unexpected twist, as Nolan embraces the creature, it dissipates into nothingness, its power vanquished in his arms. The fire consumes the house, leaving behind nothing but ashes and memories. In the midst of the smoldering ruins, Samuel takes the last photo with the Polaroid camera, one final snapshot of their grim reality. As dawn breaks, paramedics arrive, pulling Nolan from the wreckage. Weak and dazed, he is loaded onto a helicopter, whisked away from the nightmare. But as the chopper soars over the forest, Nolan's thoughts drift to Samuel. He asks where his brother is, and in a moment of chilling realization, sees that Samuel has also been rescued. As they approach civilization, the truth becomes undeniable. Mama had been lying all along. The world had not ended, yet Samuel leans in close, his voice barely a whisper. She loves me more. In his hands is the Polaroid he took, and as Nolan looks at it, his blood runs cold. The image reveals the evil, a dark presence, had indeed touched Samuel. The threat wasn't just imagined, it was real all along. Never Let Go marks Alejandro Aja's return to single-location horror, but this time, the director stumbles with a muddled screenplay. The film centers on a mother, Halle Berry, and her two sons, Nolan and Samuel, isolated in a remote home, believing they're under siege by a supernatural force. Aja's direction remains sharp, particularly in how he uses confined spaces and visual tension. But the story is weighed down by too many competing ideas, including mental illness, trauma, and overprotection, leaving viewers confused rather than captivated. Halle Berry's performance as the protective mother misses an opportunity for greater complexity. The film hints that her character may have gone mad years before, but Berry's portrayal stays too one-dimensional. The character lacks the depth needed to explore whether she is truly protecting her children from an evil presence, or if her own trauma has clouded her reality. The thematic ambiguity, while intriguing, is left underdeveloped, weakening what could have been a compelling psychological horror. Visually, Never Let Go shines, thanks to Aja's collaboration with cinematographer Maxime Alejandre and the haunting score by Robin Coder. The film's atmosphere is eerie, with the director skillfully using background movement to build tension. Yet, despite these technical strengths, the movie never gains the momentum of Aja's best work. Like Crawl, the film ultimately feels shallow, repeating its less interesting ideas while failing to explore its most intriguing themes. While Aja will likely recover with future projects, this film is likely to fade quickly from memory. Thank you very much for watching the whole video. And if you have a movie or TV show that you want us to cover, just comment it down below. We'll make a video of it in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out our playlist for more recaps.